everybody, it's Harvard Lawyer Lee. Today, you may be one of the millions of people sitting around an airport waiting to figure out whether your flight will go at all, whether it will be canceled, and how long your delays are going to be. I want to talk about today, first of all, the ground rules. What are the normal rules that apply when a flight is delayed or when it is canceled? What can you do about that? I also want to talk about why those normal rules may not apply today. If your flight has been delayed or canceled on the day I'm making this video, which is January 11th, 2023, you are really, really not alone. There is absolute chaos at airports around the U.S. today. Every U.S. flight was grounded for a time when the Notice to Air Mission system crashed. A NOTAM, as it's called, notifies pilots of abnormalities, problems, hazards in the national airspace system. That's how pilots find out about closed runways or equipment outages, possible hazards that might affect a flight. The FAA is reopening airports like Newark, Atlanta, but the cancellations and the delays are already in play. So what can you do? Let's talk about delays first if your flight is just delayed, and then cancellations. First, are you entitled to money or just compensation from the airline because your flight was delayed? That's a straight up no from no less a source in the U.S. Department of Transportation. This is not legal advice. This comes straight from the Department of Transportation. You do have some rights in the U.S. If an airline flight will be delayed 30 minutes or more, the airline has to give you a status update within 30 minutes of the time the airline becomes aware there's going to be a delay. So what about switching to another flight? That's a maybe. If the airline you're flying on has another flight, which is not very likely to be the case today, you may be able to switch your seats. But the Department of Transportation says the airline may charge you for changing your reservation. Could you maybe switch to a different flight on a different airline? Right now, again, not really an option because the delays are system-wide. But in general, you can ask the first airline to transfer your ticket to another airline. But the FAA is clear. There are no federal regulations requiring airlines to put you on another airline's flight or reimburse you if you purchase your ticket on another airline. But what if the delay stretches on, or in FAA terms, the flight is significantly delayed? DOT gives the lawyer's favorite answer. It depends. DOT doesn't even have a definition of significant delay. Whether you get a refund depends on the length of delay, the length of the flight, and your particular circumstances, which, since everybody in America is being affected right now, is every possible circumstance under the sun. So let's switch gears. What about when your flight is entirely canceled? The FAA says most airlines will rebook you for free on their next flight, but that's not going to be an option for very many people today. As cancellations mount, a lot of people will be forced to just cancel their trips entirely. Here's the good news. Look at the middle paragraph. The FAA says you are entitled to a refund for your plane ticket, even if it was a non-refundable ticket. You also can get a refund if you paid for a bag to go on the flight, or if you paid extra for a seat assignment. The airline may try to offer you a voucher instead of a refund, but the FAA's website says you are entitled to a refund if the airline canceled a flight, regardless of the reason, and the consumer chooses not to travel, or if the airline made a significant schedule change and/or significantly delays a flight. Here's what the FAA said in a November 14, 2022 press release. Under U.S. law, airlines and ticket agents have a legal obligation to refund consumers if the airline cancels or significantly changes a flight to, from, and within the United States, and the passenger does not wish to accept the alternative offered. It is unlawful for an airline to refuse refunds and instead provide vouchers to such consumers. And if the airline offers you a voucher instead and you're tempted to take it, the FAA warns you to be sure to check for restrictions like blackout dates and expiration dates. But notice what that refund leaves out. You are not entitled to compensation for all the costs that you lose that are not directly related to the flight. If you paid for a non-refundable hotel, a rental car, tickets to a concert, you don't have a right to a refund for any of that. If you miss your cruise, your honeymoon, or even your wedding, the airline is not required to reimburse you. The airline does not have to pay for your meal or a hotel room when your flight is canceled, although some airlines choose to do that. So you have to look at the policy of your particular airline. So those are the general ground rules. That's what would normally happen in a situation where your flight is delayed or your flight is canceled. But today, the ground rules may be different. The reason is that the airlines didn't choose to stop your flight. They didn't choose to cancel your flight or even delay it. Instead, that was a decision made by the FAA as a result of the fact that the system wasn't working. The airlines will argue that this is a matter of force majeure. It's called act of God, that this was something that happened that was completely outside their control, and therefore they will decide on an airline by airline, case by case basis what they're going to do here. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. We cover breaking legal news here. See you in the next video.